Hello, everyone. It's Laura. This is Free Practice Friday. We will do a little bit of Qigong today, and we're also going to talk about the vagus nerve, which I mentioned in my last video. The vagus nerve is, I think I mentioned, part of it's what moves our body from fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode, or relax and restore mode, that peaceful mode. So we've got the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic and stress both begin with S, and so that's how I remember those. That's the stressful mode. And then we've got rest and restore, or rest and digest, rest and relax mode. The parasympathetic or peaceful nervous system. So those parasympathetic and peace both begin with P. So that's how I kind of keep track of those, right? The stress mode and the peaceful mode. And the vagus nerve is what bounces us back and forth in between those. So the vagus nerve runs basically along the spine, the length of the spine, and it's got a couple different branches, which we'll go into in a minute. But I want to start with kind of a diagram. I don't have a diagram, but pretend that I do. So we've got at the bottom here, we have our kind of lowest level of stressful stimulation, right? We're in this relaxed mode. We're in parasympathetic nervous system. And then when we get stimulated, when a tiger is chasing us, or we're stressed about money, or our boss is yelling at us, we might move up in that level of stimulation to fight or flight. So the vagus nerve is moving us in between each of those. And Qigong is a way, if you're stressed, to move from fight or flight into rest and digest. And so that is the vagus nerve not only does that, but there's a scientist named Stephen Porges. I think it's Stephen with a PH, and his last name is Porges, who put forth this theory called polyvagal theory. And he says that, yes, there's this, he calls it like a social connection mode, and that's the parasympathetic nervous system. And then there's fight or flight, which is sympathetic, but that the body can also actually go beyond fight or flight and be even more stressed into this freeze mode. And what he's discovered is that that's actually also the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So we think of the parasympathetic nervous system as being this peaceful, relaxed, where we heal, where our food digests well. And when we're in sympathetic and fight or flight, this stress mode, none of that stuff is really happening. The goal, our brain's goal, is to just get us safe again. So, we think of parasympathetic and sympathetic, but then we bounce up into this even higher stress level of parasympathetic again. And so it's those two levels of parasympathetic nervous system that are the two different branches. So we have at the lowest level of stimulation, we have the ventral branch. That's the branch on the front of the body along the midline. And then the one when we're in freeze mode in parasympathetic, is the dorsal branch. So that's along the back, basically following the side of the spine. And it's the PTSD is actually a cycle between fight or flight and freeze, right? So we're kind of going between these top two levels. And so it might look sometimes like somebody is actually relaxed, right? They're in this parasympathetic nervous system, but they actually have this heightened nervous system reaction, and so they're in this frozen mode. Think about when an opossum plays dead, right? They're frozen and they're hoping, okay, my enemy's not going to see me, or they're going to think I'm dead, so they're going to go away. And basically, your brain, that ventral branch of the vagus nerve is, it's basically the lizard brain. And it's saying, okay, we need to shut down everything that's not absolutely necessary, right? So don't move at all. No blood going to the muscles. We're just going to stop what we're doing. We're going to freeze. And then once the enemy or the stressor goes away, then we can make our way back down. So anyway, interesting bit about PTSD there is that we're actually in parasympathetic, but we're in this freeze mode. And so one thing that Qigong can help with is bringing us down out of that, that frozen mode through fight or flight and down into that social connection part of the sympathetic nervous system. So, and I don't think it's any surprise, right, that it's the ventral branch. So it's the front of the body branch, and that's where our heart is, and that's where we're kind of vulnerable. If you think about it, our back is a little bit more of a hard shell. You can kind of have, if you were down on all fours, you could have someone stand on your back, and it would maybe be uncomfortable, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't damage anything as long as they're not too heavy. But if you're lying on your back and your stomach, your abdomen, your torso is open, the front of your torso is open, and somebody steps on it, then there's a lot more chance of you being hurt. So we're very vulnerable in our fronts. And so it's not really a surprise to me, at least, that that's kind of where this social connection piece of things comes into play. But let's talk a little bit about the Qigong aspects of it. So in Qigong, we breathe, right? We focus on our breathing. We try to regulate our breathing. So rather than our breathing being chaotic, the way it might be if we're stressed or if we're in panic mode, where we're breathing very quickly, we put it into a more regular pattern. And this is not the same as the PTSD cycle, but it's a little bit of a smoother pattern. And so we breathe in, and then we breathe out. It's very relaxing. Breathing in, and then we breathe out, and we breathe out. Remember, we've talked about we breathe out, we drop the jaw, and breathe out gently through the mouth, as opposed to breathing out through the nose. Because we have a lot more space to kind of get the air out there. So if you're breathing out through your nose and you're trying to breathe out a large volume of air, there can be some pressure there, and that can add, pressure, stress. They're not entirely unlike each other, and so that can keep the stress in your body. So if we breathe out through our mouth with a gentle ha, then we can relax the vagus nerve even more. I also tell people I tend to clench my teeth a lot when I'm concentrating. So if my mouth is open and my jaw is dropped, then I'm not doing that. So there's less tension in my jaw. The other thing that we do in Qigong is when we're breathing out, emotions are expressed in the breath, right? And so if somebody's frustrated, they might sigh. Right, and that's a way of getting. I always say getting the gunk out. Right, we might have some trapped emotions in our body. They've kind of integrated into our, at a cellular level. And when we're breathing out, when we're sighing, we can get some of that stuff out. Another way actually to relax the vagus nerve is by singing. So even if you don't think you're a good singer, get in the car when you're driving alone and just sing at the top of your lungs, turn on your favorite song and sing. And that's a great way to relax the vagus nerve. I don't think anybody's ever gotten stressed by singing their favorite song. Maybe if they get caught by somebody, they pull up to a stoplight, someone pulls up next to them and sees they're singing, you're a little bit embarrassed, but whatever, it's just all in good fun. So, singing. So when you breathe out, you can also vocalize. So I breathe out or breathe in and then, right? It's kind of a sigh, but I'm doing it on purpose. It's not just kind of coming out because I'm frustrated or tired or that sort of thing. So we actually do that in Qigong class. We have this concept of a double relaxation, or relaxing the body twice as much. So you're not seeing my full body here, but we breathe in and then you breathe out with a nice sigh and just relax everything twice as much as it already is. So let's try that. We breathe in and then right? We relax everything. I'm getting floppier. So far, I have not ended up in a puddle on the ground, though sometimes I feel like it. I feel like I'm going to, but my body has always held me up. My bones have held me where I need to be. And we have our muscles that stabilize us, but those mobilizing muscles that we use to walk, to move, we can relax those. I know I hold a lot of tension in my muscles, even when I don't need to. And so doing that double relaxation can really help. Let's try that one more time. Breathe in. And then you breathe out with a nice sigh. If you're embarrassed in doing this in front of other people, if you're not comfortable with it yet, just do it alone. It's fine. Something else that one of my students actually reminded me of was gargling. One of her doctors had suggested that to her. That also relaxes the vagus nerve. So obviously I actually tried. I practiced gargling. I was like, oh, let me see what it sounds like. Without anything in your mouth, you go, right? You don't get the whole gargling thing, but that kind of vibrates your throat, and that vibrates down your body and relaxes the vagus nerve. So if you ever need to relax and you're brushing your teeth and you feel tense, right? Brush your teeth and then rinse your mouth out, but gargle once, and see if that makes you a little more relaxed. So there's a lot more to be said about the vagus nerve. I'm not an expert in this area, but I think it's a really cool area of research. Stephen Porges, who came up with polyvagal theory, I was just looking that up recently, and that actually dates back to the mid-90s, and it's only now that it's kind of becoming, that it's coming into society, out of the scientific world and into just everyday world. So it's really interesting. Look it up, Poly, VAGAL, all one word, and Stephen Porges. He's got some cool stuff. So I hope you use a couple of these ideas to relax, and sighing, relaxing your jaw, singing in your car. You can always do that. That's a favorite of mine. It's only actually recently, I always thought I was a really bad singer, but I've always been a musician. And so recently, a few years ago, I started singing with a chorus, and, I'm becoming more confident. I'm definitely not an opera singer, but I really like singing. And so, if I can do it, even though all my life I believed that I was a horrible singer, then you can do it too. So enjoy experimenting with the vagus nerve and keep on breathing, and I'll see you later. Bye.